Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you to talk about a fundamental truth, the importance of loving yourself, and in doing so demanding more not only from the world around you, but from the most important place of all, yourself. In a world that constantly pushes us to fit into boxes, to meet external standards, and to measure our worth through the eyes of others, the first step toward true growth is the simple yet profound act of loving yourself. But this love, this acceptance, is not a passive gesture. It's an active choice, a commitment to understand all of who you are. You see, to love yourself is to embrace the totality of your being, not just the parts that are easy to love. Each of us carries within us light and shadow. We have our strengths, our successes, our joys, but we also have our failures, our fears, and our flaws. To love yourself, truly and deeply, is not to ignore the darkness within. It's not to pretend that you are perfect or immune to hardship. No, it is to look at all that you are, the complete, unvarnished truth, and say, I accept you, I love you, I will grow with you. This brings us to the second point, recognizing your inner wholeness. Too often, we measure our worth by external standards, by the degrees we hold, the job titles we wear, the accolades we collect. But deep within you lies something far more valuable than any of these external measures, your inherent worth. You are valuable simply because you are. When you recognize your own wholeness, you stop looking for validation from the world around you. You stop seeking approval from others and start seeking approval from the one person who truly matters, yourself. When you truly understand this, when you grasp that your value doesn't depend on your achievements or the validation of others, you begin to demand more from life. Not because you seek more for the sake of it, but because you realize you are capable of more, you are worthy of more. You have untapped potential that longs to be unleashed. Once you understand your own worth, you no longer settle for mediocrity. You no longer accept the status quo, because you know you are destined for something greater. This brings us to the final point, the journey of individuation. To love yourself is to embark on a journey toward becoming the fullest version of who you are meant to be. It is not about following the paths laid out by others, but about listening to your inner voice, your true calling. It is about shedding the layers of expectations and societal norms and stepping into the authenticity of your being. The journey of individuation is not easy. It requires courage to face the unknown, to go beyond the roles that others assign to you, and to listen to the deep, often quiet call of your own soul. But when you walk this path, you awaken to your true self, and in doing so, you realize that demanding more is not an act of arrogance. It is a natural consequence of aligning with your deepest, truest self. You no longer settle for less, because you know the world has been waiting for you to step into your full power. So I say to you today, love yourself deeply and without reservation. Do not shy away from your shadow, embrace it. Recognize the wholeness of who you are, independent of the world's judgments. And then, when you stand in the fullness of your being, demand more from yourself, more from the world, and ultimately, more from life. You are worthy of greatness. You are worthy of the life you desire, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. Loving yourself is not a superficial or self-indulgent act. It is a profound and transformative process that begins with the acceptance of your entire being. To truly love yourself, you must recognize that self-love isn't just about celebrating your strengths or accomplishments, but also about embracing the aspects of yourself that you may find difficult or uncomfortable. This includes your imperfections, flaws, and the parts of you that you may have rejected or tried to hide. True self-love is a holistic acceptance, one that acknowledges both the light and the shadow within you. And it is this full acceptance, this embracing of all parts of your being, that becomes the foundation for your growth, your healing, and your ability to demand more from life. The concept of the shadow is central to this process. The shadow refers to those parts of ourselves that we tend to hide or deny, traits or feelings that we consider undesirable or unworthy. These could include aspects of our personality, like anger, jealousy, or insecurity, or even deeper, more painful emotions like fear, sadness, or shame. Often, these shadow parts of ourselves are repressed, pushed to the corners of our consciousness, because they don't fit the image we want to project to the world, or because we've been taught that these qualities are unacceptable. But here's the paradox. By repressing the shadow, we not only deny a part of our true self, but we also fail to fully harness the richness and depth of our potential. Loving yourself means acknowledging and accepting the shadow as an integral part of who you are. It means not only recognizing the positive aspects of yourself, but also becoming comfortable with the darker, more challenging parts. This acceptance doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or condoning destructive tendencies. Rather, it means recognizing these aspects as a natural part of being human. Every person has a shadow, and it is often through this shadow that our deepest lessons and personal transformations lie. To truly love yourself, you must stop running from or denying the parts of yourself that make you uncomfortable. You must come to terms with the fact that the entirety of who you are is worthy of love and acceptance. The process of accepting the shadow involves deep self-awareness and self-reflection. It is only through understanding our unconscious fears, desires, and wounds that we can begin to integrate them into our conscious lives. Denying or rejecting the shadow can lead to inner conflict and fragmentation, preventing us from achieving inner peace and wholeness. But when we make the choice to face the shadow, to look at the parts of ourselves we find difficult to confront, we begin to heal. The shadow is not a burden to carry. It is an opportunity to understand ourselves more fully. The more we accept these parts of ourselves, the more we come to realize that they are not separate from us, but are woven into the fabric of our being. Self-love also requires a deep compassion for ourselves. It is easy to be kind and compassionate toward others, but when it comes to ourselves, we often set impossibly high standards. We are quick to criticize ourselves for our mistakes, our shortcomings, or for not meeting the expectations of others. This self-criticism can be particularly damaging because it reinforces the idea that we are not enough, that we are not worthy of love or acceptance, unless we meet certain conditions or prove ourselves in some way. But the truth is, self-love cannot be conditional. It must be given freely, without judgment or expectation. The more you can treat yourself with kindness, the more you will open yourself up to personal growth and transformation. When we begin to love ourselves in this way, it becomes easier to face the challenges of life without being overwhelmed by them. Instead of running from difficulties, we begin to approach them with a sense of curiosity and resilience. We understand that life is not about perfection, but about growth, learning, and evolving. Our flaws are not signs of failure. They are opportunities to develop greater self-awareness and emotional maturity. When we love ourselves, we can look at our mistakes and failures not as reasons to criticize or punish ourselves, but as chances to learn and improve. Furthermore, self-love involves setting boundaries, learning to say no when something doesn't serve us, and saying yes to what aligns with our values and well-being. Many people struggle with setting boundaries because they fear rejection, conflict, or disappointing others. But without boundaries, we allow ourselves to be taken advantage of, drained, or disrespected. Loving yourself means recognizing your worth and knowing that you deserve to protect your energy, your time, and your peace. It's about honoring your needs and desires and not feeling guilty for doing so. Part of embracing the shadow and loving yourself means letting go of the constant need for external validation. So often we seek approval from others to feel good about ourselves. Whether it's through achievements, appearance, or social status, we look for ways to prove our worth. But the more we base our self-worth on external factors, the more fragile our sense of self becomes. External validation is fleeting, and when it is withdrawn or not received in the way we expect, we can be left feeling empty or inadequate. True self-love comes from within. It's about recognizing that you are enough as you are without needing to prove anything to anyone. When you love yourself, you stop seeking validation because you no longer need it. You begin to live authentically, knowing that your value does not depend on the approval of others. Loving yourself is also about forgiveness. We all make mistakes, and we all have regrets. But to truly love yourself, you must learn to forgive yourself for past missteps, Holding on to guilt, shame, or self-blame only serves to keep you stuck in the past, unable to move forward. When you forgive yourself, you release the weight of past mistakes and free yourself to embrace the present moment. Forgiveness is a form of self-compassion, a way of saying, I am human and I am worthy of love despite my imperfections. It is through forgiveness that we heal the wounds of the past and create space for new possibilities and growth. As you embrace both your light and shadow, and as you practice self-compassion and forgiveness, you begin to shift your perspective on life. Self-love is not a destination. It is a continual process of growth, acceptance, and transformation. It is not something you do once and then forget about, but something you commit to each and every day. The more you love yourself, the more you will find that you are capable of achieving things you never thought possible. You will demand more from life because you will recognize that you are worthy of more. You will no longer settle for mediocrity because you will understand that your potential is limitless. Ultimately, self-love is about integration. It is about taking all parts of yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your successes, your failures, and recognizing that they are all essential pieces of the puzzle that makes you whole. When you accept yourself fully, you empower yourself to create a life that reflects your true essence. You become the author of your own story, no longer bound by the expectations of others or by the limitations you once placed on yourself. Loving yourself is not just about feeling good in the moment. It is about becoming the best version of yourself. It is about accepting who you are and using that acceptance as the foundation for growth, healing, and transformation. And in this journey, you will find that the more you love yourself, the more you are able to demand more not just for yourself but for the world around you. Because when you recognize your own worth, you will begin to see the potential in everyone and everything, and you will know that nothing is beyond your reach. True self-love is a journey of deep understanding, one that transcends surface-level affirmations and extends into the core of your being. To love yourself fully, it's essential to recognize your inner wholeness, the inherent value you hold that is not determined by your achievements, your external relationships, or your societal standing. Your worth is not a reflection of the accolades you've collected or the titles you've earned, but instead it is intrinsic, woven into the very fabric of who you are. This recognition of your inner wholeness is a powerful act, a shift in consciousness that liberates you from the constant pressure of seeking approval from others and allows you to step into a life of authenticity, purpose, and self-respect. We live in a world that constantly places value on outward appearances and external markers of success. From a young age, we are taught to equate our worth with the things we achieve, the titles we carry, and the recognition we receive from others. We measure our self-esteem by how we compare to those around us, and we often find ourselves falling short when our accomplishments do not align with society's narrow definitions of success. This can lead to a sense of inadequacy, as if our value is something that must be earned or proven. It can also create an insatiable hunger for more, a relentless pursuit of achievements or possessions in an attempt to fill the emptiness we feel when we fail to recognize our inherent worth. The truth, however, is that you are valuable simply because you exist. You do not need to prove anything to anyone, nor do you need to chase external validation to feel good about yourself. The core of self-love begins with the acceptance of this truth, that you are enough, as you are. When you recognize your inner wholeness, you stop measuring your worth against external standards. You stop seeking to meet the expectations of others, because you understand that your value is not dependent on what anyone else thinks of you. Your worth is intrinsic. It is a part of you, not something to be earned, but something that simply is. This recognition does not mean that you stop growing or striving to improve yourself. On the contrary, when you recognize your own worth, you give yourself permission to grow in ways that are authentic to you. You no longer need to chase after external achievements as a way to prove your worth. Instead, you are free to pursue growth that is aligned with your true desires, your purpose, and your passions. This understanding allows you to focus on the journey of self-discovery rather than on the pursuit of perfection. You begin to seek fulfillment for the sake of fulfillment itself, rather than for the approval of others. The process of recognizing your inner wholeness begins with self-reflection and self-awareness. It requires you to look inward and confront the parts of yourself that you may have neglected or ignored. It asks you to examine your beliefs, your values, and your patterns of behavior, and to ask yourself if they truly reflect who you are at your core. This is not about judgment or criticism, but about understanding and accepting yourself at the deepest level. It involves recognizing the parts of yourself that you may have been conditioned to dismiss or reject, and learning to embrace them as valid aspects of who you are. When you begin to see yourself as whole and complete, you are no longer bound by the need to prove your worth through external measures. Instead, you approach life from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. You understand that your value is not something that can be diminished or increased based on external circumstances. It is constant, steady, and unchanging. This recognition allows you to approach the world with a sense of confidence and inner strength, because you no longer need to seek approval or validation from others. You are grounded in the knowledge that you are enough, just as you are. As you recognize your inner wholeness, you also begin to recognize the potential within you. You see that you are capable of achieving greatness, not because you are perfect, but because you are whole. Your value is not determined by the absence of flaws or mistakes, but by your ability to grow, learn, and evolve. When you understand that your worth is inherent, you begin to demand more from yourself and from life. You recognize that you are worthy of pursuing your dreams, no matter how big or unconventional they may seem. This recognition frees you from the constraints of fear, doubt, and self-limiting beliefs. Moreover, recognizing your inner wholeness allows you to cultivate a sense of peace and contentment, regardless of external circumstances. When your sense of worth is not dependent on the approval or validation of others, you become more resilient in the face of life's challenges. You no longer feel threatened by criticism or rejection because your self-esteem is not tied to the opinions of others. Instead, you are able to stand firm in your own truth, knowing that your value is unshakable. This inner peace creates space for greater clarity and focus, as you are no longer distracted by the need to seek approval or validation. You can now direct your energy toward what truly matters to you, whether it's pursuing your passions, building meaningful relationships, or contributing to the world in a way that aligns with your authentic self. In addition, recognizing your inner wholeness empowers you to create boundaries that protect your well-being. When you understand your inherent worth, you begin to honor your needs, desires, and values. You no longer feel obligated to please others at the expense of your own well-being. Instead, you recognize that your time, energy, and attention are valuable resources that must be used wisely. You learn to say no when necessary, to prioritize what aligns with your goals, and to distance yourself from situations or people that drain you or compromise your sense of self. This sense of wholeness also shifts your perspective on relationships. When you recognize your own value, you no longer seek relationships to validate your worth or to fill an emotional void. Instead, you enter relationships from a place of abundance, bringing your full, authentic self to the connection. You are no longer seeking someone to complete you because you already feel complete within yourself. This shift in perspective leads to healthier, more fulfilling relationships, as you are able to connect with others from a place of mutual respect and authenticity rather than neediness or dependency. Ultimately, recognizing your inner wholeness is about reclaiming your power. It is about stepping into your full potential and understanding that you are worthy of a life that reflects your true essence. This recognition frees you from the need to prove yourself, to seek approval, or to conform to the expectations of others. It allows you to live authentically, to pursue your dreams with confidence, and to demand more from life, because you know that you are capable of achieving greatness. When you recognize your own worth, you begin to see that nothing is beyond your reach. The world becomes a place of endless possibilities, where you can create the life you desire, not because of what you've achieved, but because of who you are. To truly love yourself and demand more from life, it is essential to embark on a journey of individuation. Individuation is the process by which you come to understand and integrate the various parts of yourself, and ultimately become the person you are meant to be. It is not simply about self-improvement or personal growth. It is about becoming whole by aligning with your authentic self and embracing the complexity of your own identity. This path, though challenging, is one that brings profound fulfillment and clarity, and it is through this process that you begin to realize that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. Individuation is not a straightforward linear path. It is an ongoing, lifelong process that requires deep self-reflection, self-awareness, and the willingness to face the parts of yourself that you may have ignored or rejected. It is about uncovering the layers of conditioning, societal expectations, and false identities that have shaped you, and reconnecting with your core essence, the person you were meant to become before the world told you who you should be. This process allows you to step away from the roles that others have assigned to you and to embrace your true identity with courage and authenticity. The first step toward individuation is acknowledging that you are more than just the roles you play. Society often teaches us to define ourselves by our titles, our professions, and our relationships. We are told that we are a success if we achieve certain milestones or a failure if we do not meet certain expectations. We get so caught up in these roles that we forget to ask ourselves who we truly are beneath the surface. Individuation is about peeling back those layers, stepping outside the roles that others have imposed on us, and discovering what it means to be truly ourselves. It is about freeing ourselves from the pressure of fitting into preconceived boxes and allowing ourselves to explore and embrace the full spectrum of who we are. This journey of self-discovery requires a willingness to face the unconscious aspects of ourselves. We all carry within us parts of our personality, desires and fears that we are not fully aware of. These unconscious aspects often shape our behavior and our choices in ways that we do not realize, influencing our relationships, our work, and our emotional well-being. Individuation requires us to shine a light on these unconscious parts, to bring them into the light of awareness so that we can integrate them rather than be controlled by them. This process can be uncomfortable because it forces us to confront the parts of ourselves that we may have ignored, rejected, or denied. However, it is through this confrontation that we grow. We cannot fully know ourselves without acknowledging the parts that we have hidden away. It is only through embracing both our strengths and our weaknesses, our light and our shadow, that we can achieve wholeness. As we continue on the journey of individuation, we begin to realize that true self-love is not about perfection, but about acceptance. Self-love does not mean loving only the parts of ourselves that are easy to love, the parts that are accomplished, successful, or outwardly appealing. It means loving ourselves in our entirety, including the parts we perceive as flawed or imperfect. These parts, which we often keep hidden, hold the potential for great growth and transformation. By embracing our vulnerabilities and accepting our imperfections, we create space for true personal development. The process of individuation teaches us that we are not defined by our mistakes or limitations. We are defined by our ability to learn, adapt, and grow. As we integrate all aspects of our being, we become more authentic, more whole, and more capable of demanding more from life. Individuation also requires us to let go of the need for external validation. Many people look outside of themselves for approval, for recognition, or for a sense of worth. We measure our self-worth based on the opinions of others, on how well we are liked, or on how much we are admired. However, the more we rely on external validation, the more disconnected we become from our true selves. We start to mold ourselves into what we think others want us to be, rather than embracing who we truly are. The journey of individuation is about finding the courage to listen to your inner voice and trust your own instincts. It is about discovering your own values, passions, and desires, and making choices that align with your authentic self, rather than seeking approval from others. When you begin to trust yourself and act in alignment with your truth, you shift the focus from pleasing others to fulfilling your own potential. It is only when we stop seeking approval from the outside world that we begin to realize the true depth of our power and our capacity for growth. As we move forward in the individuation process, we also begin to understand that we are not static beings. We are constantly evolving, growing, and changing. Individuation is not a destination, but a continuous journey of becoming. It is about embracing change, letting go of outdated beliefs, and remaining open to new possibilities. Life will inevitably present challenges and obstacles, But it is through these challenges that we continue to evolve. Every experience, whether positive or negative, provides an opportunity for self-discovery and growth. Through individuation, we learn to approach life not with fear or resistance, but with an open heart and mind, knowing that each experience contributes to our ongoing development. This journey of self-discovery and growth also brings with it the realization that we have the power to create our own destiny. When we align with our authentic self, we step into our personal power. We no longer feel trapped by circumstances or limited by the expectations of others. Instead, we take responsibility for our own lives and begin to take intentional action toward our goals and dreams. Individuation encourages us to step into our full potential and demand more from life. Not because we are striving for approval or validation, but because we know we are capable of achieving greatness. The more we connect with our true selves, the more we realize that we have the ability to create the life we desire, to shape our own path, and to live in alignment with our deepest values and aspirations. Individuation also encourages us to cultivate resilience. As we continue to evolve and grow, we will inevitably encounter setbacks and difficulties. However, the process of individuation teaches us that these challenges are not obstacles to our growth, but opportunities for further self-discovery. When we face adversity, we are given the chance to examine our beliefs, our values, and our emotional responses. It is through these moments of struggle that we learn the most about ourselves and develop the strength to persevere. By embracing the process of individuation, we develop the resilience to face whatever comes our way with grace, wisdom, and inner strength. Ultimately, the journey of individuation is about becoming the fullest, most authentic version of yourself. It is about breaking free from the constraints of societal expectations and embracing the unique and multifaceted person you are. Individuation is not about conforming to external standards, but about aligning with your deepest truth and expressing that truth in the world. It is through this alignment that you begin to demand more from life, not because you feel entitled to it, but because you recognize your own worth and potential. When you fully embrace who you are and step into your personal power, you begin to see that the world is full of possibilities, and you are capable of creating a life that reflects your true essence. In conclusion, the process of individuation is essential for those who seek to love themselves and demand more from life. It is through individuation that we uncover the truth of who we are, and it is through this truth that we find the courage to step into our full potential. Individuation is a continuous journey of self-discovery, growth, and transformation, and it is through this journey that we come to understand our worth and our ability to create the life we desire. By embracing the process of individuation, we unlock the power to demand more, not from a place of entitlement, but from a deep knowing of our own strength and authenticity.